Hey guys, thanks for checking out this video. We're going to get into it in just a second. I just want to let you know at the very end, I am going to tell you what I really feel. Not that I didn't, but I'm going to tell you kind of my overall feelings of this fusion after having a little bit of time to actually talk about it with some of the people I really respect in this game, some of my clan mates, some of the other YouTubers, as well as taking a look at the actual schedule of this. So make sure to stick around till the end. Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi, and today another Raid Shadow Legends video. Specifically, this is going to be kind of a news announcement about this new fusion that just released. So the game just updated. The fusion is starting to be loaded in. You can see the champions that we're going to need for it, and I thought I'd go over some of the ones that I think are key. Now, they haven't released exactly the method, and probably by the time you see this video, that will be out there. So you're going to be able to make some judgments of whether this is going to be worth it for you, how you're going to plan your approach to getting this fusion done. That said, I wanted to cover the champions that I think are really the ones you're going to want to focus on, and that's going to be those epics and the legendary for the fusion itself. Now, this fusion is one of those big ones where all the champions are new, so you have to go out and acquire all of them, which can be a real pain in the butt to do. But it also gives us a real focus of things to work on. Now, it does require a lot of resources. It always does. It's an old school fusion, not one of these fragment ones. So if you are going to do this, you do have to commit a lot of resources. So you have to be willing and open for that. If you don't have them, that's okay. There's other ways to go about this to still get something for yourself out of this fusion event. Even if it's not the Lego, there's a couple of really good epics in here that I think might be worth your time and approach to trying to get. So that's kind of what I want to cover today, and we'll make it nice and quick, nice and sweet, and then we'll be out. So let's go ahead and look at the champions that are available in this fusion here. So as you go in here, the portal summons, you can see there's a fusion, and there it is. So you can see here the champions that we're going to need, and you can see there's all these new rare champions, as well as these epics, and the legendary, of course. So first thing I want to cover is going to be the legendary. So this is Vergumkaar, I guess you might say. This guy looks pretty awesome. Has what appears to be very short legs and a very big body and some massive horns. He's so big he doesn't fit all on the screen at the same time, no matter how far back I try to pull back the view here. Pretty dope, right? He's got a little sword thing. I don't know what he's using it for, but he's got it there. Some barrels that look like they have wings on them for some odd reason. And yeah, so he's kind of an interesting champ. As far as visually, I think he looks pretty dope. It'd be cool to see the animations of him. Now, the key thing to this guy is he's got some pretty cool things, right? So he's got this chance to place a stun on the A1, books up to a 45% chance. This is pretty decent, actually, for an A1 attack. And it increases by 15% for every buff the target has. Now, if a target has a lot of buffs but not block debuffs, I'm questioning that a little bit. But still, that's really good. This is going to be an arena champ, by the way, if you haven't figured that out. It's almost completely an arena champ, so keep that in mind when you're evaluating. This one, the A2, removes all provoke debuffs from allies and a random debuff, and then places increased defense on them all and a shield buff on them all equal to 20% of his HP. So this book's down to 3 turns, which is great. That's actually really nice. Provoke is a very strong debuff that's used a lot in arena, so he is very clearly a provoke counter for arena. His A3 here attacks all enemies, run random buff from each enemy, and has a 75% chance of removing 2 random buffs from each enemy. Places a 100% block heal buff if they have 1 buff removed, and a decreased defense buff if they have 2 or more buffs removed. This one, it books down to a 3-turn cooldown as well, so all these skills are coming up very quickly. This also seems like a very, very good skill as far as, taking away what the enemy has. And then the passive ability, he's immune to provoke debuffs, fills his turn meter by 20% every time an enemy attempts to place a provoke debuff on him. That is strong. Not being able to be provoked can be really good. It negates a lot of teams that are out there. A lot of people use plenty of provoke champions, Martyr, Krisk, Angar, just to name a few of them that are out there. And this is clearly a counter to that. He also has a nice resist aura, which I don't know how exactly useful that's going to be. Now, how good is this champion? Is he worth pursuing? My general feeling is regardless of what you think the champion looks like, until you see them in action, until one of us content creators or somebody else does a little bit of a guide on them, test them out, I generally say get the Lego. They're so hard to get, and this is one of the few ways you can actually do it without having to pull a shard for it, which is really nice. That said, Vergumkaar is clearly slotted for arena. There's not very many enemies in dungeons that are going to place provoke on you. Now, when the Void Tower comes, it might be a different story. But before then, there's not a ton. In arena, however, that's something that happens all the time. So if you're looking to have a better arena team, you're looking to advance a little bit in that area, Vergumkaar might be an excellent chance to get somebody to combat that meta. I definitely recommend going for him. I think he's very, very good for that part of it. Now, I haven't seen his kit. I don't know how he hits. I don't know his multipliers. And that makes a big difference. Another part of it is we're going to want to check his base stats. That usually gives us a pretty decent idea of how strong somebody is. And you can see he's got decent defense at 1100 and 22,000 HP, which is a lot of HP, but the decent base speed of 99. So when you get him kitted up, I think you can get him pretty high up. He's an HP champ. He does attack on this A1. And attack on the A3. So attack is a damage stat, so I doubt he's going to be a very heavy damage dealer. But clearly, he puts up where's the ability? Right here. He does put up a shield buff on your champions if they have 20% of his max HP. So in my book, even though he does damage on his attack, I would actually say he's an HP champion. He's a support champion. He's not somebody that's going to do a lot of damage for you. So I think this is one of those times where you really got to say, do I have the resources to build them up or not? If I do, great. I'm all about it. If you don't, I wouldn't worry about it, honestly. He's limited for where he's going to be useful. He's going to be useful in arena. Outside of that, I don't see it. So if you have the resources ready, it's not going to hurt you. You don't have to spend a whole bunch of cash to do this, or you don't have to spend any cash to do it. I say go for it. Otherwise, I would suggest focus on these epic champions, because a couple of these epic champions I think are really good. We can start with Kaiden, right? Great name, weird kit. I mean, weird look. I kind of like it. The spiky helmet with the hair coming out, not too shabby. But his kit doesn't scream a whole lot to me. Now, base stats, low speed, high defense, low HP, low attack. He is a defensive based champion, so high defense, that's good. Chance for a provoke on the single target A1, it's okay. It's a low chance too. Chance of placing decreased attack on all enemies. That's good. 3-turn cooldown, books up to 100% chance. That's a really good skill. Definitely like that. And then revives 2 allies with 50% HP and places a 60% increased defense buff on them for 1 turn. That's an interesting skill. Revive champs are always good. Having one that isn't a healer is rare. There's not a lot of them. There's people like Molly and that barbarian lady who's a legendary too, but in an epic champion, I don't see that very often. So that part's actually really nice. But it's a kind of an odd skill, right? So you can bring him into arena, decrease attack the enemies. That's always good so they don't hit you so hard, and then you can revive your allies when they end up going down. I imagine he'd be very good in dungeons as well. He is a... yeah, that's kind of it. He's a blue affinity champion, so, it's going to have limits to it. Certain dungeons is going to be better for than others. But, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of him, unfortunately. And it's Tuak the Wanderer. Now, Tuak... Okay, so attacks with an enemy 2 times. Each hit 30% chance of increasing the cooldown of target skills by 1 turn at random. Increases the cooldown of all target skills by 1 turn instead. If this champion is less than 50% HP... when attacking on each hit. So his thing is when he has less than half health, he does things weird. So basically, cooldown on the A1, and it's a stronger ability when he has less than half health. It books up to a 40% chance. It's okay. Not bad for an A1, right? A2 attacks everybody, all enemies. Places a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns, and also a 30% increased speed buff on this champion for 2 turns. And heals him for 15% of the damage inflicted if they have less than 50% HP when attacking. So if Tuak has less than 50% HP, again, he heals a little bit. But this is good, right? Decreased speed for the enemy and books up to 100% chance, 3-turn cooldown. and then increase speed on himself. That's actually a really strong skill, going to be great for dungeons, and great for the mobs, right? And then you have Clever Brutality A3, attacks when enemy steals half their turn meter, and has a 70% chance of placing a stun debuff that does book up to 100% chance. That's actually really strong. And steals 100% of the target's turn meter. This champion has less than 50% health when attacking. This one's actually really nice. You know, guaranteed stun. Even if it's only on one enemy, that's actually really good. And if they're, you know, if he's under 50% health, he's going to steal all of their turn meter instead of just half of it. This actually is a pretty good skill. So when I was looking at him before, I was like, I don't know about this guy. Reading this, that actually is really nice. It's a 4-turn cooldown, but a guaranteed stun is really good. I'm sure you need accuracy for it, but like 100% chance is really nice. The decreased speed is really nice. I am not a huge fan of the A1, but reducing cooldowns is really strong. It can be. So that's actually not a bad kit overall. And then this passive decreases the damage taken by the champion by 20% when their HP drops below 60%. So the idea is he can get, and an ally attack in all battles by 22% as an aura. That's not bad. So the idea is he can take damage, and then he gets almost like a veil passive on himself when he gets low to help stay alive and make his abilities hit harder and stronger. So I could definitely see him being useful, certainly for Faction Wars, almost definitely for some other areas of the game. I actually kind of like this ability here with Tuak. Interesting base stats though. Defense is really low. Attack is okay, and HP is pretty low with not great speed. So clearly he's an attack-based champion, as it says. But it's going to be kind of hard to keep him alive. I know he reduces the damage once he's under 60%, but keeping him over 0%, I think, is going to be the challenge with him. Still, interesting champion. I think definitely could find some places for him in the game. Probably going to be best for the dungeon waves. He's going to be really good, I think, in the Void Tower whenever that comes, the Doom Tower or whatnot. I don't see him in Clan Boss. He might be okay in Arena, but I don't know that he would be my first choice there either. Barroth, the Bloodsoaked. Now, I think he is fantastic. First off, base speed, defense is solid. Not great, but it's okay. Attack is low, but he's an HP champ, and his HP is good. A1, attacks one enemy 2 times. First hit, 20% chance of filling this champion's turn meter by 10%. Second hit, chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. You're going to see this kind of system going on here. Books up to 30%, so it's not a high percentage chance, but stealing turn meter or like getting turn meter or taking turn meter, either one of those are really nice skills on that A1. A2, attacks 2 times. First hit places a shield equal to 25% of the damage inflicted. Not bad. Second hit heals all allies by 10% of the damage inflicted. Again, attack 1, attack 2. First one, shield. Second one, heal. Not bad skill. And that books down to a 3-turn cooldown too. And then A3, also this books up to 100% chance for each of these. Attacks enemy 2 times. First hit, 50% decreased attack. Second hit, removes any increased attack. First hit places decreased attack and removes any increased attack. Second hit places decreased defense and removes any increased defense. That's actually a really nice skill. This is a 4-turn cooldown. So this is a skill that you can take into Clan Boss, you can take into Dungeons, you can take into Arena. The only limitation is the 1 enemy skill, single target. So if this doesn't hit hard, it's got some limited usage. Great against bosses, always. Not as great against dungeon waves. Any single target things are just not good against dungeon waves. But all these skills are single target abilities. So this one's good against Clan Boss. This one's good against Clan Boss. This one is problematic because you get that increased turn meter randomly, and you're not going to decrease any turn meter. So he's going to be really hard to speed tune. Basically, I don't want to say he's impossible to speed tune, but it's going to be really difficult to speed tune. You're not going to be able to bring him into complex teams. It's going to have to be probably simple teams that you bring him into if you want to use them in a speed tune for that. Probably better options anyway. Well, I was really intrigued by him when I first read him. Now I'm a little bit like, I don't know. Single target attacks just aren't that great in this game for most of it. He can help you pass the faction wars. It's definitely going to be good for that. If you can get him to the bosses, he's going to be good for that. I don't think I'd bring him in for Clan Boss. I don't think I'd use him most anywhere. By the way, that helmet is baller, right? Dude looks cool. I like the armor, love the gold, love the double axes. So he looks amazing, but it's really going to depend on how hard he hits. If he hits really hard with those skills, then he's probably going to be worth getting. Otherwise, probably a vault champion. So, and it's going to be Fane. First off, looks amazing. Sweet freaking mouse champion. Kind of weird seeing like a human body with like a very mouse face. You know, wouldn't mind a little bit more clothing. It's a little weird, but regardless of that, does look dope. I'm loving the hair bit. I love the cloak. Just really cool. The double knives thing is always a dope look. And she has really cool skills. Now, first, look at the base stats. Attack is super high attack. The defense and the HP are super low. Speed's okay. What this tells me is she is obviously an attack champion. She's going to be a glass cannon. So while she's probably going to be able to do some work, hopefully she can hit hard. I don't know what the multipliers are. That's going to determine a lot with this champion. But if they're good, I do not think she's going to be good for a standard clan boss team. I think she's really going to be good for unkillable teams. Because then you're able to maximize the stats that she has. If you bring her into a traditional clan boss team and you're trying to make her tough enough to survive, that base defense is going to mess everything up. So that's my kind of take on her. First, A1, attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 35% chance of stealing the target's current turn meter. Well, we know that won't work for the clan boss. We know that doesn't work for most dungeon bosses. Not all of them, but for a lot of them. So that's going to be, you know, good for whatever waves or arena or whatever you want to use her for. Not great for clan boss and some of the dungeon bosses. A2, attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing 2 5% poisons, as well as a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. This does book up to 100% chance, which is great. So that means you get poison and decrease attack on a 3-turn cooldown when booked up. That's a really powerful skill. There's no other champions that can do that in this game. And then her A3, also this books to a 4-turn cooldown. It books up to 100% chance, places attack an enemy 3 times. First hit, decreased defense debuff for 3 turns, which is really long. Second hit, weaken debuff for 3 turns, again, very long. Third hit, heals his champion by 4% of her max HP for every debuff on the target. So if you have a clan boss with all 10 debuffs on there, she's healing for 40% of her HP on that hit. You know, I mean, most of the time we deal with life steal anyway, but that is really strong. This does come to a 4-turn cooldown. So she has every debuff you need in clan boss all rolled into one, which is amazing. However, the negative with this is her defense is so low. She's going to be really, really hard to make survivable in that scenario. Not to mention to do damage. Her HP is super low and her defense is super low. So it's going to be really tricky getting her kitted out. I think that if you were going to build this champion, oh boy, it would be tough, guys. It would just, like, flat out would just be tough. I don't know how you would do it for a traditional clan boss team because that base defense is almost too low to work with. I was just working with Rowan, who also has a really low base defense, trying to get her defense high enough for clan boss, and really wasn't very viable. So this could be a real challenge. I would definitely recommend using stalwart gear. I'd definitely recommend bringing in a healer. Like, there's ways to get around it, of course, but I think Fane is going to be strongest in unkillable teams. And in those scenarios, I think she's going to be quite strong. However, just keep in mind, 2 poisons is not enough to really keep a full debuff bar. That's the same as like a Bad Alcazar does. It's not that much. And because this skill is on a 4-turn cooldown, that means this skill's only going to happen every 4 turns. Even though it books down a 3-turn cooldown, I'm pretty positive this is the one that's going to get the priority, this A3. So just be aware that she's not going to be a primary poisoner, secondary poisoner for sure. But that said, once they announce the route in which we can go ahead and get these champions, announce the different dungeons and stuff, you're going to want to plan that out, figure out which ones you can hit, which ones you can accomplish, and then I would target some of these champions. I think at this point I would target Tuak, who I think has some real value, and I'd target Fane. I think those two are probably going to have the most utility, with an outside possibility that Barroth or Kaiden might be good for you and your team there too. Look at the whole thing as opportunity. There's this opportunity to get this great fusion, right? But if you don't need them, or if you don't have the resources to get them, there's a great opportunity to get one of these epic champions as well. Now, the rare champions, they're okay. I looked over their kits. I didn't see anything that was end game viable. I didn't see any game breaking kind of champions. There's no Frozen Banshee. There's no Apothecary in there. So I didn't feel like covering any of that. But yeah, definitely take a look at those epic champions, and you're going to want to plan out which one you want to get. The very last champ is one I almost forgot about because she's actually not part of the fusion, just another champion that was introduced in the game. So I would not be surprised if, I don't know, somewhere along the line they do something for maybe a 10-time event or something. But the other champion that they've introduced is Ursuga Warcaller. She looks amazing. First off, I think we can all safely assume that Stu is going to be head over heels for this large lady here. This is like War Mother's sister, I feel like, the barbarian version. She is amazing. Look at those. Look at these like freaking huge horns that she's got there. I'm assuming just to hold her drink. That massive maul in her hand, the huge golden shield with the people on it, that looks so dope. The horns, the golden armor, the crazy hair with the cloak. I mean, everything about this I think is pretty cool looking. Most importantly, though, look at these stats, guys. These base stats are huge. That is a huge base defense, huge base HP. Her attack is low, but who cares? She doesn't do anything with attack. And she's got really good base speed. Really good, in fact. Let's look at her kit. So she has, on the A1, 45% chance of a block cooldown skill. It's actually books up to a 60% chance, which is really strong. On her A2, these are all HP skills, by the way, which is amazing. On her A2, attacks all enemies, which is, thank you, please. Places decrease crit damage debuff and decrease attack on the target who has higher attack than defense. Places decrease speed and decrease defense on targets whose attack is equal to or lower than their defense. That's pretty dope. That means whatever strength your champion, the enemy's champion has, she's going to make that weaker. If they're an attack champion, they get decreased attack. If they're a defense champion, they get decreased defense. It's a really, really smart usage of those skills, including decreasing the crit damage for attack champions who usually have high crit damage, and decreasing the speed of those defense champions who actually typically can be a little bit slower anyway, but that's just going to make them even slower. Less chance to come. This is on a 3-turn cooldown, guys. This is going to come up over and over. This is a really strong skill here. The A3 is ally protection buff on all allies, and then strengthen buff on her for 2 turns. Strengthen is one of the strongest buffs you can have. It mitigates so much damage. This is a really, really strong ability to keep your champions alive. Then her passive is decreases the damage all allies receive from critical hits by 30%, and then this champion receives that damage instead. And in addition to that, she has a huge HP aura for all battles. So the way I see her being used, obviously Arena, with that AoE decrease attack or defense depending on the champion, that's a huge ability and really, really strong. That strengthen and ally protection, also great for Arena, helping your allies stay alive, as well as the block cooldowns. Now, so those things are great for Arena. I think she's going to be amazing. She's going to be great for dungeon runs too. That targeted decrease attack or defense is really strong because it's going to be great for waves. The ally protection and strengthen is really strong. It's going to help your team survive and strive. Those things are really good, and those abilities should proc against the bosses as well. So when you're facing a clan boss, or you're facing a dragon or a spider, their attack or their defense is higher, she's going to lower it, which I think is really, really effective. Now, the only spot where I'm a little curious about her is in clan boss, because here's the thing. This ally protection strengthen buff, it books down with 3-turn cooldown, which is great. She actually doesn't need a ton of books. 4 here, 5 there, and 2 here. So 11 books total. It's not a crazy amount for a legendary champion necessarily, And those cooldowns being 3 turns is really strong. So ally protection strengthen on 3-turn cooldown, really nice. I'm pretty sure, I'll be honest, I don't know the full stats of the clan boss, but I'm pretty sure this means that the clan boss will get a decreased attack and crit damage from her. So she brings ally protection and decreased attack. That's a really strong ability and skill to bring that, and it's on 3 turns, so you don't have to make her super fast in order to fit her into your composition. Or she's going to be really great if you use her in really fast team, a 2-1 team or whatever. So I feel like she's going to be really good in those scenarios. She also has a really high base defense, which means it's going to be easy to keep her alive, easy to build her up with high high defense, high HP. This is a fantastic champion. This is going to be the best of all the champions that are being offered right now. Too bad she's not part of the fusion, right? Too bad she isn't the fusion. That would make it worth it to go for. That said, if you, for some reason, are able to get Ursuga, you're going to be really happy about it. I think she's going to be really great. I'm really interested to see her multiplier. She is an HP champ, so that means you can build her for survivability and attack at the same time, which is great. So that's going to be it. That's the last champion I wanted to cover today, guys. So like I said, if you can get Ursuga, congratulations, you've just hit the jackpot. If you have some need in arena, or you compete in arena pretty regularly, I think going for this fusion is going to be a really good idea. On the other hand, if you're not interested in arena, or you are going to be struggling to finish this fusion, I say don't worry about it. Find a couple of those epics that speak to you, that you go, you know what, I think this person is going to be good. My preference is going to be Fane and probably Tuak, are probably the two I would look at personally, but I would go for them and call it a day. That way you're not going crazy with your resources, but you're still able to get some new champions. That's always fun. So guys, just as I promised at the very end here, I do want to impart a little bit of knowledge as far as like how I feel about this fusion. To be fair, I think it is probably, in all honesty, not worth your time. Now, I say that understanding that I missed the Torment fusion and I regret it to this day. I did the Rhodos fusion and almost didn't, and I'm so thankful I did. But when you're talking about a fusion with all new champions, the scale and the scope of what you need to be able to do to make that happen is much larger than it would be normally. You can't have any of your vault champions, not anybody you usually pull or can go farm or anything. It's very difficult to make these kind of fusions happen on the timetables that are available, especially when we haven't really had a whole lot of warning that it's coming. And so because of that, I'm probably going to recommend that you guys don't finish this fusion. Obviously, the Lego, I think, is actually really good, but he's really good in a very limited area. If you're going to go through all this trouble, you want him to be useful, at least useful in multiple spaces, if not dominant in the spot that he's going to be. Rhodos was dominant in the arena. Torment was dominant in the arena. I do not see this champion being dominant in the arena. He's a meta counter, not a meta maker. And that's a big difference in my book. So to me, I think while he's very good, I don't think it's necessarily worth going through all this trouble to fuse him. I do think Fane is going to be amazing for unkillable teams, but outside of that, I'm honestly not sure that she's going to be very viable. And none of the other champions, none of the epic champions, and definitely not the rares, are screaming to me, must get. So I just want to let you guys know that I still say, if you have the opportunity, if it's not difficult for you, if it's not going to, kill you to do it, definitely go for the fusion. I'm going to be trying for the fusion this whole time. I'm going to try and get everything because, obviously it's helpful for me for content, but I also don't know what's coming down the pipeline. These champions may be reworked. They may be useful, especially if the Doom Tower comes anytime this year, which we'll see. But the point is that, of course, they're going to be useful. Just don't break the bank to make this one happen, okay? So I just want to give you that last little bit of advice because I know that's really the question many of you want. And so hopefully that's helpful, guys. As always, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that jazz. If you still have questions about this, you want to talk about this a little bit, find me on Twitch. I'm going to be there on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and again on Sunday. I'm kind of moving my times around. I think we're going to be going at 1 o'clock in the afternoon Pacific time, just to mix it up a little bit, make it a little easier for me to make those streams. But I love talking to the chat, and this is the kind of thing we end up discussing a lot about. How I feel about these champions, what you guys think about them. You give me insight, and I give you my insight. It's a really fun time. So come check me out there. Hit my Patreon up if you guys want some coaching or a takeover or anything like that. And otherwise, guys, Till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.